Welcome back, children, to another super exciting lesson of English Essentials. Today we're going to be learning about phrases. Phrases are an essential part of English. As with all of these lessons that you have either watched previously or will watch in the future, this one is adapted from a book called Everything You Need to Ace English Language Arts in One Big Fat Book. But really, you could find this is basic English stuff, right? You could find it almost anywhere. It's just that I happen to have been using that book when I was making this lesson. And if you want to look at that book and find the information yourself there, you can find it on pages 2 to 4. But you don't need to do that because you're going to watch and take notes on this video, and then you'll be able to use the information here. So let's get started. First, let's talk about essentially what a phrase is. So a phrase is a group of words that work together to function as one of the parts of speech. And we should know the parts of speech. This is very, very basic Englishy stuff, but just to be sure, I'm going to go over it. So the parts of speech are nouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, and prepositions. There are others, but let's just stick with those 5 for now. All right? So we are used to thinking of those parts of speech as one word. You use a noun, an adjective, a verb, an adverb, or a preposition. However, what we're learning now is that sometimes those things can actually be groups of words. So a noun can be a group of words, an adjective can be a group of words, etc., etc., etc. And that's when they become a phrase. Now, what makes it a phrase is that a phrase never has a subject and a verb in it. So the phrase could function in a sentence as a subject, or the phrase could function in a sentence as a verb, but a phrase cannot stand alone as its own sentence. A phrase is an incomplete sentence. So it's a phrase is within a sentence functioning as a noun, an adjective, a verb, an adverb, or a preposition. Now, some of you might still be looking at this and saying, what the heck are you talking about, Mr. Lassard? I don't remember what a noun or an adjective or a verb or an adverb or a preposition is. I've heard those words, but I can't remember what they are. So let's review what each of them does really quick. So the parts of speech are, as I said, nouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, and prepositions. A noun is something that identifies a person, place, or a thing. So, like I said earlier, we're used to thinking of a noun as a single thing, like a single word. But a noun can also be a phrase, so a group of words can function as a noun. An adjective describes or modifies a noun. Again, we're used to thinking of adjectives as single words, like, if we wanted to describe a noun as beautiful, or if we wanted to describe a noun as stinky. Those are all single word adjectives. However, sometimes you can have a group of words that describe a noun as well. A verb identifies an action. So, jump is a single word action, right? Mumble is another single word action. To mumble, I guess. To jump, to mumble. But again, you can have groups of words that do the same thing. Adverbs describe or modify a verb. So someone may mumble inaudibly. Inaudibly describes the mumbling. But again, as I said the last 3 times, sometimes you have groups of words that function as an adverb. And lastly, a preposition shows direction, location, or time. So he went to the store. The preposition is to. It's showing the direction that the person is going, or the location, the direction he's going toward a location actually. Anyway, so to is a preposition. There are hundreds of prepositions: under, over, before, after. All of those are prepositions, but sometimes, again, you end up with groups of words that function as a preposition or a noun or an adjective or a verb or an adverb. And now that I've said that, 25 times, hopefully you're starting to get the picture. But just in case it still is a little bit unclear to you, let's look at a couple of examples. So we'll look at an example of each, and each example will be referencing the picture off on the right. So we've got Batman sitting there reading a book, and you've got the Batmobile in the background. So each sentence will have a phrase in it that describes something in the picture. So if we want to see an example of a noun phrase, then we could say, Batman read nearly 150 pages. And in this case, nearly 150 pages is functioning as the noun. It's functioning as a thing. Nearly 150 pages is the thing that Batman read. So that's why, we could say Batman read pages, and pages would be the noun, but it's better to say nearly 150, and then we have a clearer idea of what he read. And so all three of those words in this case become the noun phrase. But nearly 150 pages on its own does not work as a whole sentence, as a complete sentence. For an adjective phrase, the Batmobile looked more menacing than ever. This is functioning as an adjective because it's describing the Batmobile, right? It's describing the way the Batmobile looks. We could write the sentence, the Batmobile looked menacing, and that would work, it's fine. But in this case, more menacing than ever gives us a little bit more information about the way the Batmobile looks to some extent. And so, but in this case, it's a phrase, right? It's 4 words rather than 1, and all 4 words together are functioning to describe the Batmobile. But again, if I were to just say more menacing than ever, that is not a complete sentence. You can't say that and make much sense. You have to have the Batmobile looked there to make it a complete sentence. Here we've got an adverb phrase. So an adverb describes the way that a verb has been done. So we've got this sentence, Batman lounged like a careless hooligan. And as a matter of fact, Batman lounged could be its own sentence, just the subject and a verb. But in this case, we want to describe the way that Batman is lounging. And so, we could say Batman lounged carelessly, and that would be a single word adverb. However, we say Batman lounged like a careless hooligan, and the entire adverb phrase is describing the way that Batman is lounging, which makes it an adverb. But again, as with the others, you can't just say like a careless hooligan and expect that that's a complete sentence, because it isn't. 2 more. So we've got a verb phrase. Remember, a verb is an action word. So in this case, the sentence says, this book on detective strategies will probably prove most useful. And in this case, the phrase is will probably prove, because it actually has 2 verbs in it, will and prove. Probably is an adverb, but together, all 3 of those words form a phrase that become the verb. So this book on detective strategies will probably prove that's what the book is doing, right? Or will hopefully do, I suppose. But again, as with the others, will probably prove it's not its own sentence, which is why it's a phrase. Finally, we've got a prepositional phrase. Bruce Wayne spends a lot of his personal time hiding in the Batcave. And in this case, we're showing Bruce Wayne's relationship to his personal time. So in this, his personal time is spent in the Batcave, right? So in the Batcave is not its own sentence, but it functions as a preposition to describe Bruce Wayne's relationship to his personal time, which is why it's a preposition. So hopefully you've been able to get something out of this. I know this can be slightly confusing, but as we work with it in class and as you're asked to come up with your own examples, hopefully you'll be able to pick up on it. Let's see how you do.